That crazy Mr. Raznotovich dropping that bombshell announcement on Miss Kelly and her students. You didn't hear about that in that backup copy movie, did you? See, this true story is far more interesting than that filth. Speaking of interesting things, remember how Billy had his whole life shattered when he found out the truth about his mom? How about if, while the drama kids scramble to get ready, we check in on Billy? What does a kid who recently found out his whole life is a lie do during spring break? That's really quite sad. Oh, that might be the saddest sound I've ever heard. That's the sound of Billy systematically disabling all the alien traps he planted throughout the forest. It's also the sound of this narrator's heart breaking. Billy invested hundreds of hours setting up all those traps. Sure, he would catch an alien, but now he's putting them all away. Billy suddenly stops. What's that sound? Aliens? Could it be? Billy takes cover. East Hollywood High School presents Paradise High, Episode 15, A Larper's Paradise.
Attack!
Sadly, Billy did not hear aliens, but he was close. Those are the sounds of Larpers. You know, those live-action role-players who go out into the forest, dressed in medieval attire and battle it out with foam swords. It's a pretty big deal. And if you are a Larper, you know that while you're doing it, it sounds like this.
Prepare to taste the sting of Aldarius fiends.
That's Florence, decked out in full Larper armor. She's the head of her guild, a band of Amazonian warriors. And she's the leader for a reason. At this moment, she draws a gleaming arrow from her quiver and lets it fly from the silver bow of Aldarius. You know, the one Mr. Smith took in episode 2. Her arrow meets its mark. They always do. Another enemy Larper comes up behind Lawrence. She quickly unsheathes a sword. The freeze frame of herself in her mind's eye is epic. But all good freeze frames must come to an end, and this one concludes with Florence striking her would-be attacker 3 times in quick succession. Unfortunately, LARPing doesn't seem quite so awesome to the casual observer. Billy's watching Florence with his binoculars, and he sees a girl in foam armor mercilessly whacking another kid with a foam sword.
11 normal, 11 normal, 11 normal.
That's Larper for I hit you 3 times.
You're slain. Give my regard to Hades.
What in the...
Billy scans across the quote-unquote battlefield with his binoculars. Female Larpers dressed similarly to Florence fight a group of male Larpers who all wear some sort of Hun-themed getup, or at least what they think Huns look like. Billy's binoculars land on a male Larper whose large horned hat and long fake beard set him apart as their leader. It's Logan Lawrence, the kid who made Shark Car. But here he goes by Exterminatus. That's his LARP name. Man, this is a lot more fun from the Larper's point of view. Logan swings his large, wicked mace at an Amazonian. Critical, 19. That's a lot of damage. As the female Larper falls back from the force of the blow, Logan hits her 2 more times. 12 and 12. She's out of HP. It's curtain for her. Logan runs toward Florence, who has just finished dispatching another male Larper.
Bramusa, I challenge you to a duel.
Again, Exterminus, you never learn.
Logan and Florence exchange blows in epic fashion. There are definitely lens flares. Billy watches Florence and Logan spar. It's pretty silly.
12 normal.
Parry 11 normal.
Parry 12 normal.
Evade 11 normal.
Parry 19 critical.
Evade and rebound 11 normal.
Ah!
Logan steps back. He holds up his fist, and fire falls around it.
Fireball! Fireball! Fireball!
Logan throws 3 fireballs in quick succession at Florence. But Florence crosses her wristbands in front of her in typical Wonder Woman fashion, and they absorb the hot flames.
Braces of spell breaking, a gift from Athena herself.
When did you get those?
2 levels up ago, the same time I learned how to do this.
Florence swings her sword, emitting a laser blade that flies toward Logan. But before it hits him, a boot kicks him over, causing the laser to miss. The boot belongs to Zafira, an Amazonian in sleek, rad-looking armor. She's Florence's second in command. She points her double swords at Logan, then rushes him. Logan sees Zafira coming, and Florence just behind her. He looks around him and sees his men getting beaten.
Retreat!
Logan's men turn and run. Some of the Amazonians start to follow.
Hold! We've won the day! Sort of.
In his binoculars, Billy watches Logan's men vanish into the forest on the other side of the grove. Some of Florence's women gather around her. He sees that Florence and Zafira are arguing.
What are you thinking? Interrupting a duel? How dare you put my honor at stake?
Well, we won, didn't we?
Did we? Exterminus was mine! It was over until you decided to be a glory hog. And now he got away, and him and his doofuses are still out there.
One of the other Amazonians speaks up.
We found this in the bushes.
The Larper and a few of her companions have an iron grip on Billy, who struggles to escape.
Come on. What's going on here? Let me go.
Billy?
Spring break is bigger than any one person or group of people. It encompasses all of humanity that currently have spring break. And in the ranks of humans, we probably include Mr. Smith. So let's see what he's doing. Mr. Smith wears a very ugly, obviously homemade sweater. He sits down at his computer, cup of coffee in hand. Smith opens his email. There is a message entitled, "Our new mascot." Mr. Smith gives a grumpy face and deletes the email. He opens a list of contact info of school personnel. He scrolls through the contact list and stops at the entry for Cassie Martin. He enters her number into his very old, outdated cell phone. He hesitates. Finally, he pushes the green call button on the phone. He puts the phone to his ear. He panics and hangs up. Oh, Mr. Smith is quite frazzled. Billy is tied up and guarded by a handful of female Larpers.
What is he still doing here? I said to let him go.
Zafira, who you remember as Florence's second-in-command, steps in front of Billy.
He could be a spy. He's probably working for Exterminus.
He's Billy.
She's right. I am Billy.
He was sneaking around watching us. He's clearly a spy. He could betray our position to the enemy.
Look, he's no spy. He's just a weirdo. Cut him loose and let him go.
Here.
We don't need any men around here.
Florence turns away, expecting the conversation to be over.
I claim him as Tsunomos.
A nerdy Amazonian dressed in librarian-like armor, the herald of the group, steps forward.
According to the code of the Amazon, if any should claim a man as Tsunomos, Then her sister shall forever do all in their power to sustain her decision and see that her mate remain with her.
Whoa, mate?
Know the code. Zafira, you don't want a mate. This isn't even about him. This is about you and me.
I claim Sunamos.
They stare at one another, sizing up the situation. It's awkwardly long. Okay, they're done now.
You know what? Fine. Whatever. Take Alfoy as your mate. It's your loss.
What?
Zafira uses one of her swords to stroke Billy's face seductively.
You're mine now.
Billy might think he can escape, but little does he know that this is a magically infused elf cord of binding. And these Larpers are really good at tying knots.
Let's go. We'll make camp by nightfall.
Come, my pet.
Florence, this whole mating is just a part of your game, right? There's no actual mating involved, right? Florence?
Mr. Smith sits in his small, ugly armchair. Simple background sounds like the hum of the refrigerator and tick of a clock are louder than life in the silence. Mr. Smith looks over at the retro, not in a cool way, digital clock on the end table beside him. 6:59. Then, 7 o'clock. He selects Cassie Martin from his phone's contact list. She's the only name there.
Exterminus's men are camped by the northern stream.
Florence addresses her troops around the campfire. A few cook s'mores. Cloud fairy nectar. Florence draws her battle plan in the dirt.
Just before dawn, we position ourselves here, here, and here. And then, when the sun peaks over the mountain...
Why wait until dawn?
Zafira has Billy by a leash, with his hands tied behind him. When he tries to move away, the knot tightens, causing him to make this sound.
Oh.
Zafira confidently ignores him.
Let's attack now under the cover of darkness.
That would be great if Exterminus's men didn't receive +5 strength at night, and they have that mysterious cloak fellow with them. By spying them out, as light breaks, we can find out who he is before the attack.
And what if he has +5 strength at daytime? Huh? Then what?
Stupidity doesn't look good on you.
Zafira pulls Billy close to her and brushes his cheek seductively.
She's just jealous because she doesn't have a man.
Lawrence rolls her eyes.
Okay, so we sleep now and wake up in 4 hours.
Attacking now would be better.
Shut up! I have the silver bow of Aldarius. I call the shots. You listen or you leave. We wouldn't even have to do this if you hadn't gotten in the way. Now, everyone, I suggest you get some sleep. You'll want to be well rested when we strike.
Who died and made her queen?
Ares.
Zafira turns to her guild's resident herald. You know, the one with librarian armor.
Ares made her queen. He gave her the silver bow of Aldarius.
Zafira watches Florence enter her tent with her silver bow of Aldarius, which glistens in the moonlight. Zafira narrows her eyes. 14.5 failed attempts later.
Hey, this is Cassie. If you don't leave a message, I'll hunt.
Mr. Smith hangs up. Dejected, he sets down his phone. The phone sits on the end table. Mr. Smith walks to his kitchen and opens a cupboard. Mr. Smith runs to his phone.
Hello? I've gotten like 14.5 phone calls from this number. Who is this?
Oh, this is Mr. This is Reginald. Reggie Smith from work.
Oh, what can I do for you?
I want to know if you would like to, if you'd like to have dinner with me sometime.
Ah, is that even legal?
Well, if you mean professionally appropriate, very likely not.
Mr. Smith has a conflicted, even guilty look on his face.
Then I'd love to.
Smith frowns, then smiles. This is the first time we've seen Mr. Smith smile. Ever. And this is the last time we'll see him in this episode. Not that we ever see any of this. Because this is a podcast. Let's get back to the Larpers. Sunlight streams through the translucent walls of Florence's tent. She wakes up slowly, having slept quite nicely. Outside Florence's tent it is quiet. Quiet and empty, except for Billy, who sits, tied to a tree. Florence grabs a horn that hangs outside her tent door.
Everyone up! It's past dawn. Who is on watch?
Larpers emerge from their various tents. They are drowsy.
Why didn't anyone wake us?
Their herald reviews information written on a scroll.
Zafira had the last watch.
Zafira. Billy, where did she go?
I don't know. But she took your bow. She took it right from your tent. You are a deep sleeper.
Zafira steps out from the foliage, holding the silver bow of Alderius.
My fellow Amazons, our enemies are upon us.
She raises the silver bow high above her head.
Let us go to victory!
Enemies? What are you talking about?
Exterminus and his men are upon us. We must attack, quickly!
This is your fault! Why didn't you wake us?
Too late to worry about that, my child.
Florence and Zafira turn to see Grandaldor, a cloaked wizard with staff in hand and beard on chin.
Grandaldor? You're the cloaked figure who rides with Exterminus?
That's right. And now you're gonna die!
Logan and his men emerge from the foliage as well. Florence turns to her Larpers.
Retreat!
The Amazonians start to turn and run. The herald unties Billy from the tree. Zafira steps forward.
Stop! We've beaten wizards before.
Florence turns to Zafira.
He's not just a wizard, he's an Istari. Haven't you read the appendix to Return of the King?
Grandaldor smiles a wicked smile. He writes in the air with his staff, creating glowing ruins that float in front of him.
And welcome and
Florence's eyes go wide. She crosses her wristbands in the air in front of her. Energy shoots from Grandaldor's staff, forking out in several directions and striking each of Florence's Larpers in the heart. Florence's wristbands absorb the bolt meant for her. A bolt shoots at Billy, but he doesn't react because, well, none of this is real. Billy watches all of the Larpers shaking in mock agony.
What's going on here?
And welcome but them.
Yeah, that doesn't really help me.
It's a mind control spell. You fool.
Yeah, he doesn't really belong here.
Don't even bother with him. Kill her!
Grandaldor waves his staff at the Amazonians under his spell. Female Larpers converge on Florence. One swings a sword at her. She evades to the side, simultaneously hitting one of her Larpers in the gut with the pommel of her sword. She kicks another female Larper back and then evades a blow from another.
I'm sorry to do this to you guys.
Florence's sword lights up with energy. She spins around, emitting a circular energy blast, and knocks back her once friendly attackers, dealing 9 damage to each. This is the Arch Strike. 1 use per day.
I'll be back, Exterminus.
Florence bolts for the forest. Billy, with his hands still tied but no longer leashed to the tree, looks at all of the female Larpers who are getting back up, and the gang of male Larpers glaring at him.
After them!
2 of Logan's men chase after Billy and Florence. Logan turns to Zafira.
Give me the bow.
Grandaldor waves his staff.
Do as he says.
Zafira hands the bow to Logan. He holds it up.
Guess who's putting all his weapon mastery points into archery?
To be continued. This episode was brought to you by Nerds, Not the Candy, the People, and by the appendix to J.R.R. Tolkien's The Return of the King. If you haven't read it, you don't really like Tolkien. On the next episode of Paradise High.
It was you!
All of that and more in My Role in Paradise, Part 3.